Hi, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Dane.
And today we are making chicken pot pie.
And I'm going to leave and let Kristen do the pie crust since she is the expert on that.
Okay, so to start with the pie crust, we're going to use a food processor. I'm using 2.5 cups of flour that I'm just going to add right in. Try not to make too much of a mess with that. I'm also going to put in some baking powder and some salt. And first thing I'm going to do is pulse this together just to make sure that it's really mixed well. A few times to make sure everything's incorporated. I'm going to add 2 sticks of butter that I actually put in the freezer to make sure that it's really, really cold. So I cut this up into about tablespoon portions. And we're going to pulse this again until it's all incorporated. This is going to take a couple more pulses, so. And that's about the texture that I'm looking for. Just going to knock off any extra flour on top there before I take this off. Then the last thing we're going to add is some very, very ice cold water. Again, just going to pulse this till it comes together. This is just about the consistency I'm looking for, so I'm going to turn this out onto the workspace, roll it out a little bit. First flour it a little bit. It doesn't stick. Okay, and then just be careful with the blade as you roll it out. This can get a little messy. So what you want to do is form a ball. Got a little bit extra left in there. Just want to form a ball with your dough. This can take a little work. And it will be crumbly, so there's nothing wrong with that. Just try and get all the little pieces that are probably falling all over the place for you. And then once you have it pretty much together, divide it into 2 equal halves. You just want to kind of form a ball, and then you're going to press it down into a disc. And then you'll wrap that in plastic wrap. 2 pieces right here. Wrap that up. This can chill, or it has to chill for about an hour, and it can chill for up to 1 day, so you can do this ahead of time if you want. So I'm going to roll out our dough now. It's chilled for over an hour in the fridge. First I'm going to flour my workspace. You'll have a nice hard disc after it's been in the fridge for a little while, so you may have a little bit of a challenge ahead of you when it comes to rolling it out, but it'll happen eventually. So you just want to use a rolling pin. I actually have a non-stick rolling pin, which helps a lot. And it will be hard to roll out at first. So this is a little bit of a workout, but you do want it to be as cold as possible when you're rolling it out. It helps make the dough flaky when you bake it. And it will be kind of an odd shape. It probably won't be a perfect circle because it is flaky. But you can rearrange it a little bit when you put it in the pie dish. I'm looking for about a 1/4 inch. So again, this is probably going to come apart. I'm going to put this into the baking dish. I'm probably going to rearrange it a little bit, press it in. This is not exactly perfect, but you do want some overhang over the sides so that you can crimp it together later, which will create a seal and keep everything in. So I'm actually going to just remove some of this here, put it in the bottom, and this is okay. Just want to make sure that the bottom's covered. And you can just press it together to kind of create one whole piece. So that's the bottom of the pie crust. The same exact thing for the top of the pie crust. I'm gonna roll it out, but since that does take a little bit of muscle, I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm gonna let Dane take over to start the filling for you.
And now it's time to get started on the filling. What I've done first is put a stick of butter in the pot. You put on very low heat, and you just want to make sure that the butter gets melted down all the way. What we're going to do here is make sort of a roux just to help thicken and flavor the filling of the pot pie. Let's see, butter is still melting a little bit. All right, and now it's time to add the flour. Just add it into the melted butter. All right, so what you want to do here is just make sure the flour gets incorporated. Just stir it around a little bit. Okay, so it's going to look pretty consistent, a little bit lumpy. And now we can add the chicken stock. And just to flavor it a little bit more, we can put a pinch of salt and pepper. Okay, now what you want to do is just, you can stir frequently, you don't have to stir it the whole time. For about 10 to 15 minutes, you want to make sure that this roux gets a little bit thicker. And once it's thick enough, we'll add the other ingredients for the filling. Alright, so the sauce actually took a little bit quicker to thicken up. It can take 10 to 15 minutes, or this one actually took 5 to 7 minutes. Just depends on the amount of heat. First you start off low. You can turn it up a little bit to medium if you want to get it going a little bit faster. But since it's a good thick consistency, what I want to do now is add the ingredients. So first we have baby carrots, which I actually boiled for about 2 minutes, and then put them into ice cold water. The baby carrots, I sliced them in half before I boiled them as well. So just add them in. Now we have about 2 stalks of celery, cut up into 1/4 inch pieces. We also have frozen peas and corn. You want to keep them frozen for as long as possible because they'll cook once everything is all together and in the oven. Add them on top. And then finally, we have the main ingredient of chicken. Now what we did is we grilled a couple of chicken breasts, just added some salt and pepper, sauteed it on top of the stove. After that, after it was all cooked through, we just cut it up into 1-inch pieces, and then we're just going to add everything together. So now you just want to mix everything in, get everything covered in your sauce. Again, it's going to thicken up a little bit. Doesn't usually take that long. And then once everything is covered and the sauce is as thick as you like it to be, I think it's time to put everything together. So I'm going to bring back Kristen. And now it's time to put everything together. So what you want to do is put your bottom pie crust on the surface. Take your filling, and we're just going to...
Do you want me to hold it?
I got it. It's okay.
He's fine.
It's real easy. Just dump everything in. Now you want to make sure you fill it about 2/3 of the way up. Otherwise, it's going to be too full and it might spill over in the oven. And
Looks good. So I rolled out this top of the pie crust, and I'm going to add this on the top here. Just stick it right over, and I'm going to crimp the edges just with my hands, just pinching the edges together all the way around. And I try and use the edge of the pie plate as a guide so that everything gets sealed in here when it cooks. Okay, and then I'm just going to use a paring knife to cut around the extra pie crust on the sides. Just be careful with the knife. This should be pretty easy to do. Save a little extra dough there. And then we're just going to cut some slits in the top to let the steam out while it's cooking. So I like to do 4. So now we're ready to put this in the oven. We're gonna cook it at 400 degrees for about 45 minutes until it's brown on top and around the edges. So our chicken pot pie is all done and out of the oven. So we're just gonna cut a slice. We did let this sit for about 15 to 20 minutes after we took it out of the oven because it will be very, very hot on the inside with the filling. So we just don't want you to burn your tongue and try and eat it before it's ready to be eaten. So I'm just scoop that out. And the filling will be a little bit gooey and ooey, so it may not come out perfectly the first time, but...
It may lose some of the crust, but that's all right. It's still edible. You can just put it on the side like that. Yeah, a little bit. And there you go.
Chicken pot pie.
Chicken pot pie.